Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be listening to Mr. Maimane. He's got an interview here. I think they do this every time there is a topic. I don't know whether it's every whatever day, but they do this if there is a trending what. So I think it's doing well so far. Because I think they are. I like it because it's not biased. It's not like Mr. Maimane speaks because he's a ANC or he's a what. He speaks from the perspective of looking at everything holistically without being biased. Okay. And I know you might say, but remember he's in the GNU also. So the minister is the minister who is in the GNU. So I don't see a reason why he would actually be biased. Okay. Let's take a listen to what he said. It's going to be a topic about what is happening right now, the trending story, as we all know that. They're going to also include Mr. President there, Mr. Mkhunu there, Mr. Mkhwanazi there, everything like that, okay? Let's take a listen to what his perspective is. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I would love it if you can like the video. Let's go and enjoy the video.
Shell News, and that was Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the KZN police commissioner, coming out with some revelations about the high risk, what's it called, the high profile task team.
Yes.
That was out there to basically investigate corruption and high end crimes,
and political killings,
being disbanded. And he says he's got proof that it was done largely by the Minister of Police, the Commissioner, etc. He really does name names. What do you make of this all?
Firstly, I think if you are going to lie, you would not do so in the public and the grand manner that he has. And therefore, I do think General Mkhwanazi is raising honest things. I believe him. And in the same way as others will say they're innocent until proven guilty, I'll take the point that I believe him until he's proven to lie.
Sorry.
There are major themes that General Mkhwanazi is saying. All General Mkhwanazi is saying to the people of South Africa in some ways is that state capture is not finished. We thought after we had the report, after Zondo, state capture would end. He chronicles state capture within the police, the judiciary, the correctional services. He raises what I've always feared. And I think, Mike, I can remember doing a podcast with you where I raised this exact point. I said, if there was one thing that would keep me awake at night, is how criminal syndicates are able to garner politicians and they run the country. And that is, in fact, what I think General Mkhwanazi is alluding to. He puts a test before all of us to say, when we look at even our judges and their ethical leadership in the correctional services and our political leadership, now is a time for us not to have a conversation about it because it is having consequences. For the citizen who's sitting at home, 64 people being killed every day, and knowing very well that political killings are on the rise, and we certainly are burying political leaders, for the state to have disbanded the program is a betrayal of justice, and they must be held accountable for it. Therefore, I happen to believe that the steps that need to happen from henceforth, we don't need another commission of inquiry, because that would simply make state capture 2.0. And then we know what happened to state capture 1, which is wasteful and fruitless expenditure. Now we've got to act. And the one person with the absolute capacity to act in this moment is the president. He can institute an SIU investigation into all the allegations. I think that within 30 days, the Minister of Police must be suspended. For the simple reason that if there's an investigation taking place within your own department, it is common cause, it's law, that you need to be able to stay away from it so that the processes of justice can be free to do what they need to do. All the generals that have been made, if the sufficiency of evidence says they must all be put on suspension.
Okay, I might be wrong, but when it comes to a person suspension, I think that one, obviously, as he said, I think it's going to come from the president if he's suspended by the president. But there is another angle, which is from the party, which is the ANC. They might speak to him and say, listen, you need to step aside. But remember, that will be based if he gets charged. The problem is, if he gets charged, then they can say, step aside. Just like Mr. Mahashule, that's what happened to him. When he was charged, then he had to step aside. And in most cases, not in most cases, but he did say that, yeah, I decided to step aside, because that's the law in the ANC and all of that, okay? Now, when it comes to the suspension part of it, obviously, it has to come from the president. And if he is suspended, obviously, it's going to be the investigation will happen, because he did say in a statement that they are going to launch, or they are going to do their own investigation. So I don't know if he says they are going to do their own investigation. Is he going to be involved in that or anything like that? Okay. But I can tell you guys, he will not step aside, or he will not be suspended. Only he can be suspended, or he can only step aside if suspension it's done by the president. If the step aside it's done by the ANC, and with the step aside he has to be charged first before he can step aside. Because even the ANC, they cannot go to him and say, yeah, you need to step aside. He will say to them, but I'm not charged. The others that actually stepped aside, it was because they were charged. I'm not charged. It's going to be those plays and everything. Unless Mr Mkhunu himself, as a human being, will be like, listen, I know that what is going on and everything, and we want to do our investigation. Let me just step aside a bit. Okay? I don't know whether it will be in pay or not, but I don't know. If it comes from him, then we will be good, actually. Anyway.
Ultimately, what we need to begin to do is to say, with the right leadership at all levels, let us begin to find the best minister of police. Let us ensure that we clean out the police and ensure that we can arrest the crooks. But if we carry on and we do nothing and treat this as though it's just testimony of a grieved general, we will become a banana republic. Because once you lose your laws and you lose your ability to enforce those laws, which come through the police, well, I'm afraid you've lost the legitimacy of the state. And I think the state was broken by the ANC. The ANC is compromised in this issue, in the sense that this is their minister, and ultimately it cannot be trusted to rebuild the same state. It is morally reprehensible what has taken place at the expense of people's lives. And I think South Africans need not only at this moment note it with concern, but be legitimately angry and demand accountability.
Does it surprise you at all that the minister in question is Senzo Mkhunu, who by all accounts was touted as possibly the ANC's best minister, and he seemed to have no real sort of fingers pointed at him before this? Or do you think it's more the case of whoever's in that position is going to end up if somebody scratches hard enough?
I think that conversation is an interesting one, because the reason I'm reluctant to even talk about it is because it adds this dynamic of, well, this is just politics. Well, it's actually, in this instance, they weren't raised by another politician who would be vying for the same position. They were raised by a general of one of the largest provinces in the country. And therefore, we must reduce it to bureaucracy. Because for you and I to have this discussion and talk about who was going to be presidential candidate, whilst I think is there, but I think it becomes a distraction. What I want to encourage us to do, to really say, let's talk to Mkhwanazi. Let's talk to Masemo. His silence in this instance, he must come out. If one of my generals was speaking in that manner in public without substantiating voice, without substantiating, or if he felt they weren't substantiating evidence, well, his silence is not consent. His silence must be challenged. And I want Masemola to come out and speak, because we lose the police, Mike. I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah.
We lose society.
And let's talk about Mkhwanazi himself, because he has been creating quite a profile for himself as a bit of a crime fighter, somebody who's prepared to fight fire with fire. And in a country that seems to have no leadership and has got the crime problems that we've got, people have really taken to that style. Does it concern you, or do you think he's just doing his job?
I engaged General Mkhwanazi. I can remember during the July riots, and he kind of took a stance that said he needed to act with all role players to make sure that that battle was won. So even back then, he was always in the same ilk. And when you think about a province as violent, that has a history of violence as KZN. In fact, I can remember even in the late 80s, early 90s, all the violence and the killings in KZN. I think if anyone wants to be a general in KZN, you almost feel emboldened or certainly set up to fight fire with fire. What the issue here at core is that it speaks to the macro police strategy that we have as a country, because it's going to incentivize this. Begicele started this whole idea of the militarization of the police. So you stopped having a police service, but you have a sort of army that we refer to him as a general, tells you that it's militarizing the police progressively. What I think we need to do is actually decentralize the police. The reason we didn't do that was because of the violence, actually. So from a constitutional point of view, you gave SAPS as a power to the national government because there was a fear that provinces would create mini armies for themselves. This is an opportune time to really say, constitutionally, if we amend it to say, let police become regional and provincial competencies, let's ensure that the priority becomes murder. And more than anything, let's begin to invite that metro police, etc., and private security partner together for better accountability so we become more effective at fighting crime. General Mkhwanazi woke up, in my view, did his job and has to be led differently in that there must be a new strategy, and he must recognize that he's the first and foremost, not the military commander of the army in KZN, but rather the first civil servant of the police.
Yeah, the idea of decentralized policing, as effective as it could be, terrifies me living in Gauteng and imagining this particular crowd running Gauteng to have their own police force that they manage.
No, I think that it still does not mean that it doesn't have accountability to what would be, because there's some cross-border crimes, there's some national police in essence, but you've seen the challenge of both. In this instance, if you've got one national police, actually the Minister of Police, as the allegations are standing, was disbanding the activity that was taking place here in Gauteng.
Yeah.
And that tells you the risk that you've got to maybe counter your point. What I think we need to urgently do is, because we've got to increase numbers. We've got less police today than we had in 2012. We've got more private security guards than we have in actual men in blue. We have more, when you look at even unfunded positions, etc., all the police are becoming now at this point in time, when you think about the level of detective who are not there, the number of police vehicles that are dysfunctional in their ability to fight crime, I think they're starting to limp if they weren't already. So therefore, we can't just keep going on the same way we've been going on.
Yeah.
We need to specialize. And I think even if you then eventually got to this point where you directly voted for the police commissioner in your province, vote for them. Let them know they work for you, not for the politicians, especially in the area of fighting crime.
Now, listen, I want to ask you guys, all right? I want you to tell me, how do you think the police, how can they be able to overcome crime, any type of crime, without being, I don't know which word to use, but without being without being combat. That means without being strict and aggressive and taking it by its horns. That means you come aggressively and you are not playing. And where you see crime, you deal with it decisively, strictly so. You are not laughing. Okay? How do you think crime can be dealt with if we still want to deal with crime with some sweetie, nice, brushing feelings, and then being careful there and there, and then, how do you think crime is going to be defeated? I want you guys to think about other countries where there is no crime. And I mean where there is no crime. Tell me, how are they able to deal with crime? Are they brushing? When the criminals come to the police and they come and come with some big whatever guns there and all of that, people expect the police to run away, maybe because they've got some small guns. How are you going to deal with crime if you are not combat? How are you going? Go and do your research and check other countries how they deal with crime. You will see they are not playing. That is why they have got a low rate of crime in their countries. Some of them, they don't even have it. And their laws are very strict when it comes to crime. Guys, you can tolerate anything else, but I will not, and I don't think I will ever tolerate crime. The problem, guys, that people don't understand is if you've got a job, you are working, you are earning nicely, right? You buy a house. It doesn't matter where you buy it. Chances are your house can be entered into, and burglars, they can come and take whatever. When you buy a car, you just bought a car right now, you've got a nice work there, then you end up buying a car. Chances of that car being hijacked is very high, of being taken or being whatever. It's very high because we are in a crime whatever country. And then you want people to deal with crime nicely. You want people to deal with crime, come smiling to the criminals. How are they going to deal with it? Just tell me, guys, is there a way to deal with crime except if you are doing it like in Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is doing it? Yeah? I don't see any other way, because that thing, it's so, when policemen are trained, they are not trained to bake cookies, they are not trained to bake cakes. No, they are trained aggressively, their training is intense. When it comes to soldiers, it's even worse. Why? Because they are not going to deal with biscuits. They are not going to deal with baking bread. No, they are going to deal with people that are going to attack them. That means they are putting themselves in the front line to say we are going to defend the country. And for them to defend the country, they don't have to smile as if like they are baking cakes. No, they have to be very serious, aggressive. I don't know, guys, why do we always want to defend things that we shouldn't be? The next thing you go through, the next thing you experience crime. The next thing you experience people wanting to take your car, whatever, then you come on social media, you cry. Yeah, this. But when we tell you that people like Mr. Mkhwanazi, the way they deal with crime, and then you come and say, yeah, but this is too much, this is aggressively, this is what. What do you want? And the problem is people who speak like that are people those who say, I know this thing, is too harsh. What it is because they are sitting in places where there is no crime, maybe in their area. They have got tight security. And then they are going to speak for people who experience crime every day. You are going to tell them to say, yeah, but you are being. I'm very sorry. But people who are staying in nice places with some nice security, they must just shut up and let people who stay where they experience, they must talk. That is why, guys, YouTube is very important for some of you, because that is when you can speak your mind. Because some of you are waiting for some people to speak for you, and you allow somebody who stays in a nice place there is security is tight, there is nothing that can happen to them to speak for you, and they will tell you to say, yeah, this Mr. Mkhwanazi is too aggressive, yeah, he's going to. What are you talking about? I've spoken about this before, but I don't know how in South Africa do you want South Africa to be a crime-free country if crime is not dealt with head-on? And people, when they see Mr. Nhlanhla there coming in with some protection, with those guys who were holding guns, and people are asking, don't you think that thing of holding, what are you talking about? Mr. Mbalula answered it very nicely. He said that guy was a police, what? He knows about these things. And when he does that, Mr. Nhlanhla, I am definitely sure he's sending a message. He's sending a message to criminals. We will deal with you. We are not playing here. That's how you need to appear. Go and check other countries, man. Your problem is you are busy looking at South Africa. Go and check other countries, how they deal with crime, how they appear. When you appear as a policeman, when you appear as a what protection, people they have to step back. When you say to them, step back, you will have to step back, because criminals, when they see them, they must shake, they must be frightened, want a place to hide. Mr. Kaelek tried it. He said, we are going to look for them, they will never have a place to hide. And then people came and say, yeah, Mr. Kele is being is being what. And I'm like, how do you want this guy to deal with this thing? Go and be a policeman and be sweet and see. And you, at the end of the day, you find that other policemen, they end up being victims. They end up being shot because of you guys. You are busy saying policemen are being aggressive, are being whatever. How are they going to deal with crime? I'm asking a question. How are they? Is there a way? Come up with a way. Put it in the comments. Come up with a way. How are they going to deal with crime? Tell me, write it. Yeah, they can do this, they can do this. I will see what you are suggesting. It can work. Have you seen on the taverns, when you go to taverns? I'm not a drinker, but you would know there are bouncers. If you come there and you are not allowed, or if you come there you cause trouble, how are they going to deal with you? They are not going to say, hey my man, no man, my man, man. They will deal with you decisively, nicely. Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what do you think about that. But guys, when it comes to crime, please, this thing of laughing, sweetie, sweetie, nice, nice, and then we think everything will just come on its own and just be in peace. It's not gonna happen. All right. All of us you might find yourself being a victim of crime. Okay. Don't be like as if like you'll never experience that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Tell me what do you think, guys, okay? What Mr. Maimane said, and also you can tell me what do you think I've said when it comes to crime. How do you think we can deal with crime, except the way Mr. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is dealing with it? Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Sharp, sharp.